Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise today in strong support of H.R. 107, and I want to thank all the families and moms that are here today with Moms Demand Action, Everytown, and all of those of us who believe that we need to ensure that ultimately our communities are safe, that children don't have to worry about being shot in school. I want to go back to last week just a bit because the comments of our colleague from Sacramento really struck a chord with me. He said, the little tiny bodies of these children were so mutilated by this weapon of war that parents had a hard time identifying them. That image stuck with me. I am a former journalist. I've seen a lot of images of violence around the world, and it brought up a little bit of the trauma of just seeing countless images. And I kept thinking about there's something here that's missing in the conversation. And that is we never see the images anymore. Something happened in the last few decades in American media where we stopped showing graphic images to the American public. It's okay to show them when they're from outside of the United States, but we don't show what happens right here at home. Our colleague from Menlo Park said that maybe none of us have experienced gun violence growing up. That's not necessarily true. I grew up in Boyle Heights in East LA in the height of gun violence and gang violence. We knew as little kids, as a fourth grader, that I needed to walk in certain streets to not be jumped. I knew that I needed to walk a further route to get to high school so that I wouldn't encounter a rival gang. I went to Roosevelt High School at a height in which there were metal detectors for students so that guns wouldn't be allowed on campus. All of that is true, and times have changed. And I want to bring back again the issue of images, the power of an image. In 1972, there was a photograph of the Vietnam War of a 9-year-old girl running naked. It was an image that the world saw of this little girl burned, and she was simply known as the Napalm Girl. This little girl running naked on the streets of Vietnam after a napalm attack. It changed the conversation on the war of Vietnam. Years prior, 1955, a 14-year-old boy, Emmett Till, their family made a courageous decision amid lynchings and conversations on civil rights to have an open casket to show the world the brutality of lynching. Families in Uvalde, Texas right now are having conversations about having open caskets to display the horrors that happened to the violence of gun violence to their children. There is power in an image. And I think that amid all of the gun violence conversation and a bill in Congress that continues to lag, the political courage that is missing, the American public needs to see the image of the open caskets of those children in Uvalde, Texas. We can't continue to have a conversation just around it. We don't see it anymore. Society has become desensitized to the reality of what that looks like. Permission to read, Mr. Speaker.
Without objection.
I want to read what Mamie Till Bradley said in 1955 with relations to the open casket of her son, Emmett Till, who had been lynched at 14 years old. She said, "I couldn't bear the thought of people being horrified by the sight of my son. But on the other hand, I felt the alternative was even worse. After all, we had averted our eyes for far too long, turning away from the ugly reality facing us as a nation. Let the world see what I've seen." The words of this mother from 1955 echo true today. There is more than we can do. And I ask that we have the political courage to ask our members of Congress, to do the right thing when it comes to gun violence and ensuring that these weapons of war, that an AR-15 is not so easily available to the general public. and encourage an aye vote on HR 107. Thank you.